David Moore had always believed in hard work. From a young age, he understood that nothing came easily. He grew up in a small town where opportunities were limited, but he never let that stop him. He studied business at the local college and took small jobs to support himself while learning the ways of commerce. Every paycheck he earned went partly to his education and partly to saving for his future. After college, David started a small office supplies company. The business began in a tiny room with a second-hand desk and an old computer. He worked day and night handling every task himself. He delivered packages personally, answered phone calls, and kept records meticulously. Slowly, his hard work paid off. The business grew. David hired a few employees, then more, and eventually his company became one of the most trusted suppliers in the city. Now, as the CEO of a successful company, David had achieved a level of comfort he had only dreamed of as a child. He lived in a modest but beautiful home, drove a reliable car, and traveled to meet clients. Yet he remained humble. He still remembered the days he counted every penny, and he never forgot the value of respect. One sunny afternoon, David decided to visit his bank to deposit a large check. He had been a customer for more than 10 years and expected a simple and smooth process. As he walked through the entrance, he noticed the polished marble floors and the busy tellers behind the counters. Everything seemed normal at first. David approached the teller and greeted her politely. "Good afternoon. I'd like to deposit this check, please," he said, handing over the envelope. The teller took the check but paused. She looked at David in a way he had never experienced before. "I'm sorry, sir, but I cannot process this right now," she said. Her tone was hesitant and her eyes seemed unsure. David was taken aback. "Excuse me? I have been a loyal customer for over 10 years. Can you please explain?" he asked calmly. The teller avoided his gaze. I need to check with my manager first," she stammered. David waited patiently, but the manager soon arrived and repeated the refusal. The reasons were unclear and no explanation made sense. David realized that something deeper was at play. He left the bank with the check still in his hand. He did not shout or make a scene. Instead, he walked to his car, feeling a mixture of disappointment and resolve. On his way home, David replayed the incident in his mind. He thought about all the times he had treated his own customers fairly and with respect. How could a place he trusted treat him this way? That night he shared the incident with his close friend Sarah, who ran a small cafe nearby. Sarah listened carefully, shaking her head. "David, this is not right. You have worked so hard and earned your success. Nobody should treat you like this, not in this city, not anywhere," she said firmly. David smiled faintly. "I know, Sarah, it is not just about me. I want to make a change that helps others too. This has to mean something bigger than an argument at the bank." Over the next few days, David thought about the incident constantly. He considered many options. He could switch banks or complain, but those seemed small compared to the larger picture. He wanted a solution that would ensure no one else faced the same situation. His mind began forming a bold plan. David realized he could use his experience and resources to create real change. For the first time in a long while, he felt a surge of excitement. This was not just about money or success. It was about fairness, respect, and the power to make a difference. He understood that the journey ahead would not be easy, but he was ready to face it. David knew that a challenge like this required patience, strategy, and courage, qualities he had cultivated over many years. That night, as he sat in his study reviewing his company's plans, David made a promise to himself. He would turn this moment of refusal into an opportunity, not just for him, but for every person who had ever felt powerless in a similar situation. He would find a way to make sure respect and fairness were never denied, no matter where someone went. David's journey was about to take an unexpected turn. What started as a simple visit to the bank had planted a seed for something much larger. He did not yet know all the details, but he knew that he would not stop until change was achieved. The incident at the bank was only the beginning. The morning after the incident, David Moore woke up with a clear mind. He knew he could not let the bank's refusal slide. It was not only about him, it was about respect, fairness, and dignity for everyone. David had always believed that challenges were opportunities in disguise. This challenge, he decided, would be no different. He started by making a list. He wrote down every detail of what had happened at the bank. He included the time, the teller's behavior, the manager's response, and how it made him feel. David knew that clarity was important. Without a clear understanding of the situation, he could not take the right steps forward. After breakfast, he called his assistant, Maria. Maria had been with him since the early days of his company. She was smart, organized, and always ready to help. David explained the situation calmly. "Maria, we have a problem that is bigger than my personal experience. I need you to research everything about this bank, its ownership, management, and policies. I want to understand how decisions are made here," he said. Maria nodded, typing notes quickly. "I will start right away, David. We will find all the information we need." While Maria worked, David thought about his options. He could complain publicly, but that might only create temporary attention. He could switch banks, but that would not solve the bigger problem. He wanted to create a solution that lasted. He wanted change that mattered. By mid-afternoon, Maria had gathered important details. David learned that the bank was owned by a group of investors, and most decisions were made by the board of directors. The local branch manager had little authority beyond basic procedures. The system was rigid, and customers like David were often caught in it. David leaned back in his chair, thinking deeply. If we want real change, we cannot fight at the branch level. We need to influence the owners. We need to show them that respect and customer service are not optional, he said to Maria. She listened quietly, impressed by his calm determination. Over the next few days, David spent hours researching. He studied business acquisitions, company management, and banking systems. He spoke with financial advisors and lawyers, asking careful questions. He wanted to know exactly how someone could take a small idea and turn it into a real opportunity for change. During this time, he also visited other banks, observing their operations. He noticed that some banks treated customers with more respect than others. He realized that good service was possible, but only if leadership cared enough to enforce it. David's mind started forming a bold idea. One evening, he shared his thoughts with Sarah at her cafe. "What if we could actually own the bank?" he asked. Sarah looked surprised. "Own it? But David, that is huge. Is that even possible?" David smiled. "It is not easy, but it is possible. Think about it. If we own the bank, we can make sure no one is refused service unfairly. We can set the example for the entire city. We can turn a negative experience into something positive for everyone." Sarah nodded slowly. "I can see it now. You are thinking beyond just yourself. You want to make a change that matters." David felt a new energy rising within him. This was more than a business decision. It was a mission. He spent nights drafting strategies and meeting with financial advisors. He considered how much he could invest, how to approach the owners, and how to make the process smooth. He also spoke with a few trusted colleagues from his company. They were inspired by his determination and joined him in planning. Everyone understood that this was not only about business, but also about respect and fairness. The team worked tirelessly, exploring every angle. Finally, after weeks of research and planning, David felt ready. He knew it would be a long journey, but he was not afraid. He understood that real change required courage, patience, and strategy. The refusal at the bank had sparked something powerful in him, a determination to turn a negative experience into an opportunity to create something better. David looked out of his office window at the city below. He imagined a bank where every customer felt respected, valued, and heard. He imagined leading a change that would inspire others. For the first time since the incident, he felt excitement and hope. This was only the beginning of a journey that could change many lives. David closed his notebook and smiled. He was ready to take the first step toward making his bold plan a reality. David Moore knew that a bold idea required careful action. Owning a bank was not simple. It would need research, planning, and courage, but he also knew that the refusal he faced could become the start of something greater. He was determined to turn the situation into a positive change. The next morning, David called a meeting with his trusted advisors. They gathered in the conference room of his company, the sunlight streaming through the windows. David explained his plan clearly. "I want us to explore the possibility of acquiring this bank. Our goal is to improve customer service, ensure fairness, and set an example. This is not just business. It is about respect and leadership," he said. His advisors listened carefully. Some were surprised by the idea, but all were impressed by David's determination. Maria, his assistant, handed him a folder of research she had prepared. Here are the bank's financial statements, ownership records, and market position. We also listed potential challenges if we decide to move forward, she said. David studied the documents carefully. He noticed the bank was profitable, but not without issues. Some branches had complaints about service, and there were management gaps. He realized that if handled correctly, the bank could be transformed into a model institution. Over the next few weeks, David focused on learning everything about acquisitions. He spoke with legal experts to understand the rules and processes. He met with financial advisors to see how much capital would be needed. He also considered the people who would work in the bank and how he could create a supportive environment for them. Meanwhile, David kept his personal mission in mind. He wanted to ensure that no customer would ever feel disrespected or unfairly treated. This mission drove him forward, even when the work seemed complicated or the numbers were challenging. One morning, Maria called him with exciting news. "David, we have identified the main shareholders of the bank. Some are willing to discuss selling if the price is right. This could be our first opportunity to make contact," she said. David felt a surge of energy. "Set up a meeting immediately. We need to present our intentions professionally and clearly. We are not here only to buy. We are here to improve, to lead, and to create positive change," he said. The meeting day arrived. David, Maria, and a few advisors dressed sharply and entered the office of the main shareholder. The room was large, with polished wooden tables and a quiet confidence in the air. The shareholders looked at David curiously, wondering what a young CEO wanted from their bank. David began calmly. "I am David Moore. I have been a customer of your bank for many years, and I have also built my own business from the ground up. I am here to discuss the possibility of acquiring your bank, with the goal of improving service, fairness, and leadership. My vision is to create a place where every customer feels valued and respected." The shareholders listened carefully. Some exchanged quiet glances. One of them asked, "David, this is unusual. Why do you want to buy our bank?" "Many investors focus only on profit," David smiled. "Profit is important, but respect, fairness, and trust are also part of long-term success. I want to build a bank that stands as an example for others, where employees are supported and customers are treated fairly. This vision can create both success and impact." The shareholders seemed intrigued. They asked questions about finances, experience, and how David planned to manage the transition. David answered each question with honesty and clarity. He explained the steps he would take to ensure a smooth process, including employee training, management adjustments, and community outreach. By the end of the meeting, the shareholders agreed to consider David's proposal seriously. David left the office feeling optimistic. This first step, though small, was significant. He had introduced his vision, shared his values, and opened a door that could change many lives. On the drive home, David reflected on the progress. The journey ahead would not be easy, but every challenge brought him closer to his goal. He felt proud of the careful planning, research, and determination that had led him to this point. That evening, he called Sarah to share the news. "We have made our first step. The shareholders are considering our proposal. This is the beginning of something important," he said with a calm excitement. Sarah smiled over the phone. "I knew you could do it, David. You are turning a negative moment into a chance for real change." David nodded. He knew the journey was just beginning, but the first step had been taken. He was ready to move forward, keeping his mission of fairness, respect, and leadership at the heart of everything he did. David Moore woke early that morning, feeling a mixture of excitement and focus. The first meeting with the shareholders had gone better than expected, but he knew the journey ahead would be challenging. Owning a bank was not just about money. It required careful planning, clear strategy, and the ability to negotiate with confidence. He called his team for a quick morning briefing. Maria and 2 financial advisors joined him in the office. "Today we begin the formal negotiations," David said. "We need to be prepared, professional, and persuasive. Our goal is clear. We want to acquire the bank, but we also want to show that our plan will bring positive change to the institution and the community." Maria nodded, reviewing the prepared documents. "I have organized the financial reports, risk assessments, and projections. Everything is ready for discussion. We just need to stay focused and clear in our approach," she said. David smiled. "Excellent. Remember, our strength is not just in numbers. It is in our vision, our mission, and our ability to inspire confidence. By late morning, they arrived at the bank's headquarters. The shareholders had gathered, and the atmosphere was formal but not tense. The lead shareholder, Mr. Thompson, greeted David politely. "We have reviewed your proposal and are willing to discuss the terms," he said. David began calmly. "Thank you, Mr. Thompson. Our goal is to create a bank where every customer feels valued and every employee feels supported. We believe that a strong culture of respect will lead to long-term success for the bank and its community." The negotiations were detailed and careful. Shareholders asked questions about financing, leadership, and management changes. David answered each question thoughtfully, providing clear explanations and realistic plans. He explained how he would invest in employee training, update customer service procedures, and improve the bank's operations. Some questions were challenging. One shareholder asked, "What if our current customers resist change? How will you manage their expectations?" David responded confidently, "Change is always challenging, but communication and transparency are key. We will involve our customers in the process, inform them about new services, and ensure that every transition is smooth. Our goal is to gain their trust, not just their approval." The discussion continued for hours. David remained patient, listening carefully to every concern and addressing each one with honesty. He noticed that the shareholders began to relax as they saw his commitment and preparation. They realized that David was not only capable but also genuinely motivated by a mission larger than profit. During a short break, David spoke quietly with Maria. "We are making progress. Remember, patience is critical. We cannot rush this. We need to show that our vision is sustainable and responsible," he said. Maria nodded. "Yes, David, they respect your approach. We just need to maintain this clarity and focus." As the afternoon continued, the shareholders started discussing potential terms. They suggested a phased approach for the acquisition, allowing for gradual changes in leadership and operations. David agreed, seeing the practicality in this method. A phased transition would ensure stability and minimize disruption for employees and customers alike. By the end of the day, the shareholders expressed optimism about David's plan. Mr. Thompson said, "David, your proposal shows vision and responsibility. We are impressed by your dedication. We will review the details and prepare a formal agreement for the next meeting." David left the building feeling encouraged. The first round of negotiations had been successful, but he knew there was still work ahead. Owning a bank was not just a financial decision. It was a responsibility that required careful attention and consistent leadership. On the drive home, David thought about the journey so far. The refusal at the bank had been painful, but it had sparked a determination to create something meaningful. Every challenge he faced now felt like an opportunity to grow, to lead, and to make a positive impact. That evening, David shared the day's progress with Sarah at her cafe. "The shareholders are considering our plan seriously. They like the vision, and the negotiations went well. It is still a long process, but the first step toward change has been taken," he said. Sarah smiled proudly. "David, this is inspiring. You are not just thinking about yourself. You are creating a path for fairness and respect. Keep going. The city needs leaders like you." David nodded. He felt a strong sense of purpose. Owning the bank was no longer just a personal goal. It had become a mission to set an example, to create fairness, and to show that respect and dedication could lead to meaningful change. As he prepared for the next round of negotiations, David knew that patience, strategy, and integrity would guide him. The journey ahead would be challenging, but he was ready to face it. This was only the beginning of a transformation that could impact not only the bank, but the entire community. The days after the first negotiation were full of preparation for David Moore. He knew that the next round would be more detailed and challenging. The shareholders wanted to understand every aspect of his plan, from finances to operations to leadership changes. David welcomed the challenge. He saw it as an opportunity to show his determination and vision. David spent early mornings reviewing financial projections. He met with Maria and the financial team to refine the investment plan. Every number had to be accurate. Every strategy had to be clear. David knew that precision and preparation would give him confidence during the next negotiation. One afternoon, David received a call from Mr. Thompson, the lead shareholder. "David, before the next meeting, we want to discuss some concerns. Some of our shareholders worry about the speed of change. They want to ensure that the bank will remain stable during the transition," he said. David responded calmly, "I understand completely. Stability is important. Our plan already includes a phased transition. Employees will be trained, customers will be informed, and every change will be gradual. This will ensure smooth operations while implementing improvements." The next meeting was scheduled for the following week. David knew that this was a critical step. He prepared documents, charts, and a detailed proposal showing how he would manage operations, improve customer service, and maintain the bank's reputation. On the day of the meeting, David arrived early with his team. The shareholders were already waiting and the atmosphere was serious. Mr. Thompson began, "David, some shareholders are concerned about financial risks. They want assurance that your plan will not disrupt the bank's performance." David nodded respectfully. "I appreciate your concerns. Our financial plan has been carefully calculated. We have considered potential risks and have prepared strategies to address them. Profitability and stability will continue throughout the transition, and improvements will be gradual and sustainable." The discussion became more detailed. Shareholders asked questions about employee management, customer feedback, and future policies. David answered each question with clarity, showing his understanding of both business and human factors. He emphasized respect and fairness as the foundation of his plan. Despite his careful preparation, one shareholder raised a new challenge. "David, what if our customers resist changes? What if employees are not willing to follow new procedures? How will you handle that?" David paused for a moment, then spoke confidently. "Change is always met with hesitation, but communication, transparency, and support create trust. We will explain changes to employees and customers, listen to their concerns, and provide training where needed. Resistance can be turned into cooperation when people understand the purpose and see the benefits." The shareholders listened carefully. They were impressed not only by his preparation but also by his calm approach. David did not rush or react with frustration. Instead, he addressed every concern with patience and logic. After hours of discussion, the shareholders began to show signs of trust. They asked David to submit a detailed operational plan, including management structure and community outreach. This was a positive sign. David realized that each challenge he faced strengthened his credibility and demonstrated his commitment to the mission. That evening, David reflected on the day. The process was not easy. He had faced skepticism, questions, and doubts, yet he felt stronger and more determined than ever. The refusal at the bank months earlier had sparked this journey, and now every challenge was a step toward the goal. David shared the update with Sarah at her cafe. "The shareholders are serious now. They asked for a full operational plan. The process is long and challenging, but it is moving forward," he said. Sarah smiled. "David, you are turning a difficult situation into something positive. Your patience and focus are inspiring. Keep going. You are showing that respect and fairness can change even the hardest situations." David nodded. "This is more than just a business plan. It is a mission to create an institution where everyone is treated with dignity. That is what drives me." The next weeks were filled with long hours of preparation. David and his team created detailed plans for employee training, customer service improvements, and financial management. They considered every potential problem and prepared solutions. Every document, every chart, every step was part of a larger goal, to ensure the bank would not only survive the transition, but also thrive under his leadership. David knew that challenges would continue. There would be doubts, questions, and obstacles, but he felt ready. Each challenge was a chance to show integrity, careful planning, and commitment to the mission. He understood that this journey was not just about owning a bank. It was about creating change, setting an example, and proving that respect and fairness could guide success. As he looked out of his office window at the city lights, David felt confident. He had turned a moment of rejection into a mission for improvement. The road ahead would not be easy, but he was prepared to face every challenge with courage and determination. David Moore felt a growing sense of excitement as the days passed. The long hours of preparation, research, and planning were beginning to show results. The shareholders had requested a full operational plan, and David had delivered it with clarity and confidence. Now the process was moving closer to a decision. David's team continued to refine every detail. Maria and the financial advisors double-checked numbers, prepared reports, and created projections. Every document needed to be perfect. David understood that precision was crucial, not only for the shareholders but also for himself. This acquisition was more than a business transaction. It was a mission to set an example and create lasting change. One morning, David received a call from Mr. Thompson. "David, the board has reviewed your operational plan. They are impressed with your vision and your detailed preparation. We would like to meet again to discuss the final terms of acquisition," he said. David felt a rush of determination. "Thank you, Mr. Thompson. We are ready to discuss the details and answer any questions the board may have," he replied. The day of the meeting arrived, and David prepared carefully. He reviewed every aspect of his plan, anticipating questions and concerns. He knew that the shareholders were watching not only his business acumen, but also his ability to lead with integrity and fairness. At the boardroom, the shareholders were present, along with the bank's legal advisors. The atmosphere was formal, but David remained calm. He started by expressing his gratitude. "Thank you for giving me the opportunity to present my plan. My goal is to create a bank that values every customer and every employee. I want to ensure fairness, respect, and professionalism are at the heart of every decision," he said confidently. The shareholders asked detailed questions about the timeline for changes, training programs, and communication with employees. David answered each question carefully, showing that he had considered every aspect of the transition. He explained how employees would be supported, how customer concerns would be addressed, and how the bank's operations would continue smoothly during the process. One shareholder asked, "David, how will you maintain stability while making significant improvements? This is a large institution and sudden changes can create problems." David smiled. "We will take a phased approach. Changes will be gradual and carefully planned. Employees and customers will be informed at every step. Stability and improvement will go hand in hand, and every decision will be guided by respect, communication, and transparency." The shareholders nodded, impressed by his thoroughness. They discussed among themselves quietly, weighing David's answers and observing his calm demeanor. After a long discussion, Mr. Thompson spoke again. "David, your vision is clear and your planning is strong. We are ready to move forward. We will draft the final agreement, and you will be able to take ownership under the terms discussed." David felt a quiet sense of satisfaction. Months of preparation, research, and careful strategy were finally leading to success. Yet he knew that acquiring the bank was only the beginning. The real work, transforming the bank into a model institution, was just starting. That evening, David met Sarah at her cafe. He shared the good news with a calm excitement. "Sarah, it is happening. The shareholders are ready to finalize the agreement. Soon we will own the bank and begin creating the changes we have planned," he said. Sarah smiled warmly. "David, this is amazing. You turned a negative experience into a mission that will benefit many people. I am proud of you," David nodded. "It is more than just a business decision. It is about fairness, respect, and leading by example. I want this bank to set a standard for how institutions treat people." In the following days, David and his team worked closely with the bank's legal and financial advisors to finalize the acquisition. Contracts were reviewed, terms were agreed upon, and every step was completed with care. David was determined to handle the process with professionalism and integrity, ensuring that the transition would be smooth for employees and customers alike. Finally, the day arrived when the acquisition was official. David Moore, once a customer who had been refused service, now became the owner of the bank. It was a powerful moment. He had turned a personal experience of disrespect into a mission for change, showing determination, patience, and leadership. As he walked through the bank, David Moore walked into the bank on his first day as the new owner with a sense of purpose. He knew that acquiring the bank was only the beginning. The real challenge was to create the kind of institution he had envisioned, one where every customer felt valued, every employee felt supported, and fairness guided every decision. He started by meeting the management team. David spoke calmly but firmly. "Our goal is to build a bank where respect and fairness are the foundation. Every customer interaction, every employee decision must reflect these values. We will make improvements gradually, but everyone must understand that our culture is changing. The managers listened carefully. Some were hesitant, unsure of how the new policies would work. David acknowledged their concerns. "Change takes time, but it is necessary. I will support you, and we will work together to make this bank a better place for everyone." David then held meetings with employees across all departments. He wanted to hear their thoughts and understand the challenges they faced. Many employees shared their frustrations with outdated procedures, lack of communication, and unclear policies. David took notes, asking questions and listening attentively. He reassured them that their input was valuable and that improvements would be made based on their feedback. Next, David focused on customer experience. He visited different branches, observing interactions and listening to customers. Some shared positive experiences, but others admitted they had faced delays or felt ignored in the past. David realized that improving service would require both training and better systems. He called a meeting with the training team and managers. "We need to provide clear guidance and support for employees. Training is not just about procedures. It is about values, communication, and respect. Every employee must understand that each customer deserves attention, patience, and care." Over the next weeks, David and his team implemented new policies. Employees received training in customer service, communication, and problem solving. Procedures were updated to make transactions faster and simpler. David also introduced regular meetings where staff could share ideas and concerns. The changes did not happen all at once, but slowly, the bank began to transform. Customers noticed the difference. They were greeted warmly. Transactions were smoother and employees were more confident. Word began to spread that the bank was improving, and satisfaction started to rise. David also ensured that the bank gave back to the community. He organized programs to support local businesses and provided financial literacy workshops for residents. He believed that a successful bank should not only serve customers, but also contribute positively to the community it operated in. Despite the progress, challenges appeared. Some employees resisted the changes, preferring old habits. Some customers were skeptical, unsure if the improvements would last. David faced these challenges with patience. He held one-on-one sessions with employees, listened to their concerns, and encouraged them to embrace the new culture. He personally spoke with customers who had doubts, reassuring them that the bank was committed to fairness and respect. David also met with managers to track progress. "Change is never easy," he said, "but every small improvement matters. Our culture must be consistent in every branch, every interaction, and every decision. Leadership is about persistence, patience, and setting an example." Slowly, the culture of the bank began to change. Employees started to take pride in their work, treating customers with care and respect. Customers noticed the difference and returned to the bank with trust and confidence. The bank's reputation improved and David's mission began to take shape. One evening, David met Sarah at her cafe. He shared his observations. "The changes are taking effect. Employees are responding and customers are noticing. It is not perfect yet, but we are on the right path," he said. Sarah smiled. "David, you have turned a difficult experience into something meaningful. You are showing that fairness, respect, and leadership can make a real difference." David nodded. "It is a journey, but the results are starting to show. This bank is becoming a place where people feel valued, and that is the most important achievement of all." As he returned to the bank that evening, David felt a quiet sense of satisfaction. The journey from being refused service to owning and transforming the bank had been challenging, but every step had been worth it. He knew that leadership required vision, determination, and patience. Most importantly, it required the courage to turn obstacles into opportunities for positive change. Months had passed since David Moore had taken ownership of the bank. The transformation he had envisioned was now becoming visible to everyone. The employees were more confident, the customers were happier, and the bank was gaining a reputation for fairness and respect. David walked through the main branch one morning, observing the changes he had helped create. He saw tellers greeting customers warmly and guiding them patiently through every transaction. Employees discussed ideas openly, sharing suggestions for improving service. David smiled quietly, feeling proud of the progress. This was the result of determination, careful planning, and consistent leadership. David called a meeting with the branch managers. "We have come a long way, but we cannot stop here," he said. "Our goal is to maintain this culture and continue improving. Every branch must reflect our values, and every employee must feel supported and empowered to make decisions based on fairness and respect. The managers listened attentively. They could see that David's leadership was not just about rules and procedures. It was about creating a positive environment for both employees and customers. David encouraged them to lead by example and to mentor their teams. Next, David focused on the community. He organized events to teach financial literacy, helping people understand savings, investments, and responsible banking. He also introduced programs to support small businesses, providing loans and guidance to help them grow. David believed that a bank's success was closely linked to the success of its community, and he wanted to make a meaningful impact. Customers began to notice the difference. Stories spread about the bank's improved service and fair treatment. People felt comfortable bringing their questions and concerns, knowing that employees would listen carefully. David personally met some of the longtime customers asking for feedback and suggestions. He valued their input and used it to improve services further. Not all changes were easy. Some employees still struggled to adapt to new systems, and some customers were slow to trust the improvements. David remained patient, offering guidance, training, and encouragement. He knew that lasting change required persistence and dedication. One afternoon, Maria brought in a letter from a local community organization. They praised the bank for its contributions and for creating a respectful and supportive environment. David read the letter with satisfaction. This recognition confirmed that the changes were making a real difference, not just inside the bank but in the community as well. David also made sure to celebrate the employees' efforts. He organized a small ceremony to acknowledge their hard work and dedication. "Every improvement here is the result of your commitment," he said. "You have shown that respect, fairness, and cooperation can create something extraordinary. Thank you for believing in this vision and making it real." Sarah visited the bank one afternoon to see the transformation firsthand. She walked through the branches, observing the employees and interacting with customers. She turned to David and smiled. "David, this is amazing. You turned a negative experience into a mission that changed an entire institution. People feel valued and the community benefits. You have created something truly remarkable." David nodded. It was never just about owning a bank. It was about creating a place where respect and fairness guide every decision. This is a new beginning for the bank, for the employees, and for the community. As the sun set that evening, David walked through the quiet bank, feeling a sense of accomplishment. He remembered the day he had been refused service and how that moment had sparked a journey of change. From frustration and disappointment had grown vision, determination, and leadership. He had not only acquired a business, but had created a legacy of fairness, respect, and integrity. The bank had become more than a place for transactions. It was now a symbol of possibility, a proof that dedication, patience, and moral leadership could create real change. David knew the journey was ongoing, but he also knew that the foundation was strong. Employees, customers, and the community had embraced the values he believed in, and that was the greatest achievement of all. David Moore smiled as he looked around. The journey from refusal to ownership had been long and challenging, but every step had been worth it. He had turned a moment of injustice into a story of leadership, impact, and transformation. The bank was no longer just a financial institution. It was a place where fairness and respect were at the heart of everything, and that was a legacy he would continue to build.